It's been on my mind for months now. A gnawing, relentless question. Am I the bad guy for not wanting to spend time with my family? My name is Gabriel. I'm 16, and lately I've felt like an outsider in my own home. The strange part is, I'm not even sure when that feeling started. Maybe it's always been there. My family is the kind people would call traditional, religious, close-knit, and proud of their values. They pray together, share meals, and never miss church on Sundays. But for someone like me, it's suffocating. See, I'm bisexual and an atheist, two things I've never dared to share with them. My family isn't just conservative, they're openly homophobic. I've heard them make jokes, throw around slurs, and discuss how lost the world is becoming. Every time I feel smaller, like there's no place for me here. When I'm with them, I can't be myself. I laugh at their jokes when I want to cringe. I bow my head during prayers I don't believe in. It's not just awkward, it's exhausting. Every second feels like a performance, and I'm never sure who I'm supposed to be. Recently, they've started to notice my distance. My mom, Clara, has said it outright. You spend all your time with your friends. Do you hate your family now? It stings because it's not hate. I love them, my parents, my siblings, my cousins, but loving them doesn't mean I feel comfortable around them. That's the real issue, isn't it? Love should feel safe. With my friends, I can joke about who I am. I can be honest. At home, I'm just someone trying not to cause a scene. It's not that I've stopped caring. I just don't know how to stay close without losing myself. So, here's my question to you. Does that make me the bad guy? I should probably start by telling you a little more about myself. My name is Gabriel. I'm 16 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've felt different. Not just the typical teenager trying to find his place kind of different, but fundamentally out of step with the world I was born into. I'm bisexual. I figured that out around the time I was 14, though I didn't have the words for it until later. It wasn't some grand realization, it was just there, a quiet part of me that felt as natural as breathing. The other part of me, though, the atheist part, wasn't so quiet. That was more like a storm, slowly building as I got older and started questioning everything I was taught. My family doesn't know any of this. They're the kind of people who believe the Bible has an answer for everything. To them, being gay isn't just wrong. It's a sin that needs to be fixed. And atheism? That's not even on the table. It's unthinkable. So, I keep it all to myself. Hiding who I am has become second nature. Around my parents, I nod along when they talk about how God has a plan for everyone. Around my cousins, I laugh nervously when they joke about fruity kids at school. Around my siblings, I pretend to enjoy their endless debates about which Bible verse proves their point in whatever argument they're having. It's like living with a mask on, day in and day out. But the worst part isn't the pretending, it's the isolation. Every time I hold back a comment, every time I laugh at a joke that cuts too deep, it feels like I'm losing a piece of myself. My friends are my escape. With them, I can talk about my crushes, my doubts, my fears. They see the whole me, the unfiltered version. At home, I'm just Gabriel, the dutiful son who smiles when he's supposed to and keeps his real thoughts to himself. But how long can someone live like that before the mask starts to crack? If there's one thing my family takes seriously, it's their faith. My parents, Clara and Marco, are the pillars of what they call traditional Christian values. To them, our home is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place built on love, discipline, and unwavering faith in God. They've made sure those values are ingrained in every part of our lives. We start every meal with a prayer, led by my dad, in his calm but commanding voice. Sundays are non-negotiable. Church in the morning, family lunch afterward, and sometimes even a second service in the evening. There's no room for debate or excuses. It's just how things are. My mum is the heart of the household, always busy with something. Cooking, cleaning, making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to. She's also the enforcer of the unwritten rules. If someone steps out of line, she's the first to remind them what's expected. Then there are my siblings and cousins, who make up the rest of this tight-knit, loud, and opinionated group. My older brother Lucas is the golden child, always polite, always obedient, always ready to give his opinion on why the world is going downhill. My sister Larissa is more like me in some ways, quick to point out hypocrisy, but just as quick to dish it out herself. From the outside, we probably look like the perfect family, but inside, it's a different story. The prayers and sermons don't feel comforting to me, they feel suffocating. The jokes my cousins tell aren't harmless, they're reminders of what I can't say or be around them. Every comment about those people ruining the world feels like a jab, even if they don't know they're aiming at me. This isn't just about disagreements or awkward moments. It's about the constant pressure to conform, to live up to an ideal that feels impossible. And as much as I love them, I can't shake the feeling that I don't belong. I wonder if they'd still love me if they really knew me. And that's a question I'm too scared to ask. It's not just the big things that make me feel out of place, it's the small, everyday moments that chip away at me. Like the time my Uncle João made an offhand comment during dinner about how kids these days don't even know if they're boys or girls anymore. Everyone laughed and I sat there frozen, forcing a weak smile. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Or the time at Christmas when we were all watching TV and an ad came on featuring a same-sex couple. My cousin Andre muttered, "Disgusting," under his breath. My mom just shook her head in disapproval. It wasn't directed at me, they don't even know about me, but it felt personal. Even the prayers can be uncomfortable. They always include a line about guiding the lost or healing those who've strayed from the path. I know it's not aimed at me specifically, but I can't help wondering if deep down they'd think I'm one of those people who needs saving. The hardest moments, though, are when they turn their attention to me directly. "Why don't you join us more often?" my dad will ask during one of his rare stern conversations. "You're always so quiet," my mom will say, her tone equal parts concerned and critical. And then there are the jokes, constant, relentless teasing from my siblings and cousins about how I'm too serious or always off with my friends. It's not just that these moments hurt, they linger. They replay in my mind long after they happen, like a loop I can't turn off. Every comment, every joke, every prayer feels like another reminder that I'm not fully part of this family, not the way they expect me to be. I tell myself it's easier to stay quiet, to keep the peace. But the truth is, every time I let one of these moments slide, I feel like I'm betraying myself. And that's a weight I'm not sure I can keep carrying. If there's one thing my family excels at, it's finding ways to turn the smallest disagreements into endless debates. And when it comes to me, my older siblings and cousins always seem to have something to say. Lucas, my brother, is usually the ringleader. He doesn't mean to be cruel, at least I don't think he does, but his teasing always has this edge to it, like he's pointing out a weakness. One time we were playing a video game together and I didn't want to share my controller. "See, this is why you don't have a girlfriend," he said with a laugh, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. The room erupted in laughter, and I just sat there pretending to be unfazed. Andre, my cousin, is even worse. His jokes are sharper, more targeted. He loves to call me Gabriel the philosopher because I don't talk much during family gatherings. "What deep thoughts are you having this time?" he'll ask, smirking while everyone else chuckles. It's not like he's wrong. I do retreat into my head a lot, but the way he says it makes it feel like a flaw, something I should be ashamed of. Even Larissa, my sister, isn't innocent. She's quick to jump on the teasing bandwagon, especially when it takes the attention off her. What bothers me the most, though, is how she'll turn around and get upset when anyone teases her. If she doesn't like being the butt of the joke, why is she so eager to make me the target? It's not like I don't try to defend myself. I'll throw out a sarcastic comment or a half-hearted joke, but it never seems to land. They're louder, quicker, and more confident. So I end up retreating, giving them the win just to make it stop. I know they think it's all in good fun, but it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels like a constant reminder that I don't fit into their world. And the more they push, the more I pull away. If there's one person in my family who should understand what it's like to feel picked on, it's my sister Larissa. She's always been vocal about how much she hates being teased. Anytime someone makes a comment about her, she immediately gets defensive, rolling her eyes or snapping back with something sharp. And yet, when the tables are turned, she doesn't hesitate to dish it out. There was this one time during a family gathering when someone teased her about her makeup. "Looks like you got ready in the dark," Andre joked. She stormed off, fuming. and spent the rest of the night sulking. But later, when I tried to excuse myself from the table to hang out alone, she called me out in front of everyone. "Gabriel's too cool for his family," she said with a grin, loud enough for everyone to hear. The laughter that followed stung more than I'd like to admit. Her behavior feels hypocritical, and it's not just her. It's a pattern across my family, this unspoken rule that you're allowed to tease others as long as you can take it yourself. But when I try to avoid the jokes altogether, I'm the one who's too sensitive or distant. Even when I explain that their jokes make me uncomfortable, it's brushed off as if my feelings don't count. "Relax, we're just messing with you," they say. But if I were to flip it back on them, the mood would shift instantly. It's like there's an invisible line I'm supposed to follow, one that allows them to poke fun at me without ever expecting the same in return. The hypocrisy makes it hard to feel close to them. How can I connect with people who don't see the double standards in their actions? I've thought about calling Larissa out on it, but I know how it would go. She'd accuse me of overreacting, maybe even turn it into another joke at my expense. So I keep quiet, letting the resentment build, and wondering if it's just easier to stay on the outside looking in. If there's one place where I can truly breathe, it's with my friends. They're not just people I hang out with. They're my safe haven, my chosen family. When I'm with them, I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing or hiding who I am. I can just exist. My best friend, Raphael, is probably the person who knows me better than anyone else. He's the first person I came out to, and his reaction was so simple and casual, it nearly made me cry. "Cool," he said, shrugging, like I'd just told him my favorite color. That moment changed everything for me. It was the first time I felt seen for who I really am, without judgment or conditions. Our group is a mix of misfits, artists, gamers, a couple of bookworms, and everyone brings something unique to the table. When we're together, the conversations flow effortlessly, jumping from memes to deep philosophical questions. It's not that we agree on everything, but even our disagreements feel different. They're rooted in respect, not ridicule. One time during a movie night, we started talking about family. I opened up about how hard it was to be myself at home, how the jokes and prayers made me feel like a stranger in my own house. They listened, really listened, and when I was done, Raphael said something that stuck with me. "You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that doesn't exist." That's the difference between them and my family. With my friends, I can talk about my fears, my doubts, my identity. I can laugh freely, make jokes, and not worry about someone using them against me later. I know my family loves me, but love doesn't always mean understanding. With my friends, I feel both, and maybe that's why I spend so much time with them. It's not about choosing them over my family. It's about choosing a space where I can finally be me. Every time I leave a family gathering early or choose to hang out with my friends instead of staying home, I feel the same familiar pang of guilt. It's not something they say outright, most of the time anyway, but it's in the looks, the sighs, the little comments that linger long after they're said. My mom is the best at this. She doesn't need words to make me feel like I'm letting her down. Just a glance, a quiet shake of her head, or a mumbled, "It's like we're losing him," is enough. My dad, on the other hand, is more direct. "You know, family should always come first," he says, as if my priorities are all wrong. What makes it worse is that I know they're not entirely wrong. They've done so much for me, raised me, provided for me, loved me in their own way. And I know they just want what they think is best for me. But their version of best feels like a prison, a place where I have to suppress every part of myself that doesn't fit into their idea of who I should be. The guilt isn't just about disappointing them. It's also about what their disappointment says about me. Am I selfish for choosing my friends over my family? Am I weak for avoiding the hard conversations? Sometimes it feels like I'm caught in a loop, trying to protect myself while also trying not to hurt them. I've thought about trying to explain it to them, but where would I even start? How do you tell your family that the place they think is your home doesn't feel safe? That the love they give comes with strings attached, strings that choke you more than they hold you together? Instead, I stay quiet, carrying the guilt like a weight I can't put down. I tell myself that I'm protecting them by keeping my distance, sparing them the truth of who I am. But deep down, I wonder if I'm just protecting myself from the possibility that their love might not survive the truth. I've spent so much time thinking about how my family makes me feel that I've rarely stopped to consider how they see things. From their perspective, I'm sure it looks like I've drifted away, like I've chosen my friends over them. And in a way, I have. My parents, Clara and Marco, are big on family unity. They've always emphasized the importance of sticking together, no matter what. To them, family is sacred, a bond that should come before everything else. So, when I leave the room during a prayer or skip a family movie night, I imagine it feels like a rejection, not just of the activity, but of them. My mum often talks about how hard it is to keep everyone close as we grow up. One day you'll realize how important these moments are, she'll say when I try to excuse myself from a gathering. My dad too has this quiet pride in our family, like he's built something that will last forever. I think they both see my distance as a threat to that vision. Then there are my siblings and cousins, who probably see me as the odd one out. They've always been more involved in the family traditions, whether it's helping set the table for dinner or enthusiastically joining in during game nights. When they tease me about being too cool for the family, maybe it's their way of trying to pull me back in, even if it doesn't feel that way to me. I get it, I really do. They want me to be a part of this tight-knit circle, to share in the values and traditions that mean so much to them. And when I don't, it must feel like I'm rejecting something they hold dear. But the problem is the version of me they want, the son, the brother, the cousin who fits seamlessly into their world, doesn't exist. I can't be that person, no matter how much I love them. The question is, how do I make them understand that without breaking their hearts? So, here I am, stuck between two versions of myself, the one my family sees and the one I know I am. And no matter how much I try to reconcile the two, it feels like there's no way to bridge the gap. I've thought about having an honest conversation with them, laying it all out, telling them who I really am, and explaining why I've been pulling away. But every time I imagine their reactions, I freeze. What if they don't accept me? What if it changes everything? At the same time, I wonder if I'm being unfair to them. They've shown me love in their own way, and I know they want the best for me. Am I wrong for not trying harder to meet them halfway? Am I selfish for prioritizing my comfort over their feelings? When I hang out with my friends, the weight of these questions fades. I laugh, I joke, I feel free. But then I come home, and it all rushes back. The guilt, the fear, the frustration. It's like living in two worlds that will never fully overlap. I know I've made mistakes. Maybe I've distanced myself too much, avoided too many conversations, or assumed the worst without giving them a chance. But I also know that the love I have for them doesn't cancel out the pain their words and actions have caused me. And now, I'm left with this nagging question that I can't answer on my own. Am I the bad guy for not wanting to be around my family as much? For choosing my friends who make me feel safe over my family who I feel I have to hide from? I don't have the answer. Maybe you do. So what do you think? Am I wrong for stepping back, or am I just trying to protect a version of myself that my family may never truly understand?